Good morning. Today is April 9th, 2021. Today we are out in front of the new plant expansion here at Carriere Family Farms. Behind us you can see the new foundation being poured and the walls being poured for our in-shell storage. In addition to this expansion, we've also expanded our sales team. Over here to my right, we have Amy Holtifer. Amy has about 30 years experience in the industry. And can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, Amy?
Absolutely, Josh. So I've been in the tree nut industry 29 years, dealing with all the different tree crops of California. So I have a little bit of experience in walnuts. And my forte has been North America and the domestic market, although some of you may know me internationally as well. So I would like to talk a little bit about the recent shipping report, the numbers we saw for North America. While the kernel sector seemed down for shipments, the in-shell sector was up. And that's only if we're comparing it to last year. And last year in March, we were just starting this whole quarantine piece. So I don't know that that's the best comparison point to look at our shipments this year for North America. So let's go back a couple of years. And if we do that, we'll see we're not too far out of line with where we should be for the month of March or year to date. So not too worried about domestic shipments. We did also have a USDA purchase bid that'll take a lot of that product out of our inventories as the summer month progresses. And we have until August 31st to remove that piece in the United States. Canada still remained very strong. And I think it was part of that retail sector last year that reached out and said, hey, we're going to buy food from home and we're going to eat healthier because we can't get out and exercise and do those things we normally did. But food service, I think, was the unfortunate loser in this whole situation. We shut down Las Vegas, we shut down travel, we shut down conventions, we shut down weddings, birthdays, large groups. All of those things typically do a different type of consumption that involve a little bit more baked goods, a little bit more extravagance. And the food service sector really took a hit. They're starting to come back this year. Not quite as strong as they normally would be, but they are definitely on the uptick. I do think that will slowly improve as we start opening up more venues. We still have issues where weddings are limited, travel's still restricted. We have a lot of people who are just afraid to be out and about in the world. I think that will for sure make a comeback as we head into this new crop year. Trucking hasn't been too bad for us, not like on the export side with trying to get containers overseas. We have had some issues just because of quarantines, and I think that's industry-wide. Whether you're in walnuts, you're in almonds, you're at the grocery store, we've all had those days where, our staff's just out, they're on quarantine, and that is what it is. But we've still been able to get domestic shipments out at a pretty good clip. However, on the export side, we did see a lot of issues. And I think that's where our strong exports have come from on the shipping report for March, is that's finally starting to look like it's getting a little bit of a resolution. We're able to get containers. But that being said, sometimes we're still being limited on the space in those vessels. A lot of vessels are still waiting to get into ports. So we're seeing delays. Roll. I'm sure you've all heard it industry-wide. And then, of course, to add insult to injury, we have the Suez Canal incident, and there's still going to be backlash from that because stuff that was waiting to get through that canal still needs to get out and reach its destination and then figure out what its shipping line wants it to do. And that being said, I guess I'll give it back to you to talk about the international market.
Yeah, like Amy said, we've struggled quite a bit on getting exports out. We've had things kind of turn around a little bit in the past few weeks where we're able to get containers, we're able to get bookings and hold them and actually get some movement. At one point, we had about 35 loads of just in-shell sitting in our storage ready to be shipped. And unfortunately, with the shipping situation, we weren't able to do that. But today, we've actually caught up quite a bit and we're seeing things move quite a bit easier. On the kernel side of things, kind of similar to the North American market, we've seen things in the export market start to catch up and start to balance out and see almost similar levels to what we've seen previously. For example, if you're looking at the European market, at the year to date, we still seem a little bit behind. But if you look at the month-to-date shipments, we really see those numbers start to come back up and be a little bit more aggressive in the shipping. That should continue, we think, as we get easier and easier shipments. And on the in-shell side, In-shell has flown off the shelves probably at these lower prices. A lot of the Middle Eastern countries really appreciated the lower prices and have consumed quite a bit. So we've seen pretty much record shipments across all Middle Eastern countries and all in-shell buying. And that's starting to really show in the year-to-date numbers as well. Amy talked about quarantine a little bit. Here, we've been pretty fortunate. Most of our employees have been vaccinated, so we're pretty excited and have people be healthy and being able to be at work without so much worry.
And then I think the only other thing we really have to discuss is what our competition looks like coming up into the rest of the season. And that being said, we have to talk about chili.
Of course.
So far, what we've heard and what has been reported to us is that the Chilean crop looks excellent, good color, good quality. I think they're mid-Chandler harvest right now, so it's probably is what it is at this point. They're also having a record crop this year. That being said, how will that disrupt our international business? Again, we have so much business that didn't get out when it should have. I think some of the markets are actually so full of U.S. product due to the late shipments. I really don't know how that's going to affect Chile's ability to ship into those markets.
Right, we've seen quite a few export buyers kind of say we're not buying Chandler from Chile because we have Chandler from California and we're still working through it. So there's a little bit of concern what that will end up with Carriere for Chile, because that will definitely come up against our new crop here at the mid-season.
So now I think the biggest concern that we have left is what is the industry Carriere going to look like? And, gosh, I wish I could get the magic 8-ball out and tell you what it said. But we have these strong shipments. They should continue. Pricing is agreeable. Even though it has strengthened since our market first opened up, it's still super agreeable. We still have the summer months for North America. And even though that tends to be slower in other regions that bring in Chilean, it doesn't here because we're starting to opening up more venues. We're going to have weddings again with larger capacity events. We still have a good chance to move a lot of product and make Carriere not too bad.
Yeah, I think if we look at the numbers today with what we've shipped and kind of forecast a little bit of what we think will ship in the coming months, we should see about 15% Carriere of total crop and Carriere from previous crop. So it shouldn't be too bad and maybe bring us around 100 to 115,000 tons for Carriere for new crop, which is a bigger number, but we think as we continue to grow, we're going to see those bigger numbers of Carriere as the industry gets bigger and bigger each season. But overall, I think things are going pretty well from where we could have been with COVID and everything else that's been thrown at us this season.
Yeah, it was a rough season, and we've looked at some markets on the walnut shipping reports that have been interesting to watch their growth. So we may even have new markets developing out of this.
Now, real quickly, Jared Enos, our field rep, will be showing us a little bit about what the new crop is looking like and developing so far.
Today I'm going to be showing you where we are in regards to our walnut bloom, as well as provide you some basic information on what takes place during the pollination process. So right now we're in one of our Chandler orchards on our home ranch in Glen. For instance, right here we have our catkins, which are the male portion of your tree. They will shed the pollen off during bloom, and all the pollen in walnuts is wind blown. So we rely on the wind to move it around and land and pollinate the female portion of the tree, which is your actual nutlet. Right here you can see we have two small nutlets present. Both of them are not in the pollen receptivity stage. But given the fact that we look like we're going to be in some good weather conditions over the next week or so, I would most likely guess that these will be receptive here shortly.
And if anybody has any questions or interest, please reach out to us at your convenience. As always, thank you for joining us. Best wishes to you, your family, and your teams.